10, 9, 8.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to this kickoff to Imagine Kalamazoo 2035. What an exciting time for our community. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their busy day to come here and help us establish the vision and plan for our community for over the next 10 years. We have a lot of incredible team members here that will be presenting this evening. I'm just going to go through the lineup and introduce them to you. First, Christina Anderson, our City Planner and Deputy Community Planning and Economic Development Director. Ashton Anthony, our Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation. James Baker, our Director of Public Services. Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety Chief, David Boyson. You got one fan out there, Dave. Please hold your applause to the end. We've got Jeff Chamberlain, Deputy City Manager. Kevin Ford, our Shared Prosperity Coordinator. Justin Gish, our Sustainability Planner. And Tanya Hewitt-Smith, our Director of Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And Rebecca Kick, our Assistant City Manager. Laura Lamb, our Chief Operating Officer. Patrick McVeary, our Director of Parks and Recreation. Antonio Mitchell, our Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. Sherilyn Parsons, our Community Development Manager. And last but not least, Jay Slaby, our Neighborhood Activator. So all of these teammates deserve an incredible round of applause. Thank you. I also want to thank those that helped put this event together and other staff that work kind of behind the scenes to make this all possible. So none of this happens without you and without all of you, the community. So we appreciate that. I'll turn things over to Rebecca to get us started and let the games begin.
Thanks so much, Jim. Turn this guy off. So, Imagine Kalamazoo 2025. This Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 can't happen without Imagine Kalamazoo 2025. When we started organizing for Imagine Kalamazoo 2025, that happened in 2015. We had 70 volunteers and a lot of optimism. We had some new ideas about how to get ourselves out in the community. We were going to go to where people were. We weren't just going to have people come to City Hall and participate with sticky dots. We were going to do new things, like meetings on the go. And we were going to do new kinds of surveys, and we were going to pop up and do new events. And these were really humble beginnings for us because we didn't have a lot of budget. We didn't hire a fancy consultant. We did this as city staff, and we did that with our volunteers. But those humble beginnings yielded some extraordinary results. We engaged more people than we had ever done before. We also did some extraordinary things with our city organization. And how that has aligned the city to do some extraordinary things with our community and with our future. We are building on a foundation of extraordinary lessons, extraordinary learning, and a place where the community and the city are growing together. And this is just the beginning. We've only been doing this for 7 years. That is just barely over a toddler, right? Like we're in first grade, basically. And because that's just the beginning, we're learning and we're growing together, city and community. And we know there's a lot of ups and downs. We're going through some of those growing pains together right now. It's all part of our journey. And in the beginning, like I said, we had those extraordinary results. As I mentioned in those humble beginnings, as we were producing some of those extraordinary engagements, we engaged not 300 or 400 people, but 4,000. And those are just the numbers we counted. These are the ones I feel comfortable sharing with you, the ones that we can actually say we had check in at those meetings, that we actually have from the surveys. And I know that there were more people that showed up, and there were more people that we probably could have counted, but these are the ones that I know I can say that we actually have. So when I say that our little plan was shaping up and getting really exciting, we then began to say, you know, as we started to go on this journey, we started to realize that there was something really special that started to happen. And our little strategic goals started to shape into something that became something more interesting. And we knew at some point that we were not just creating a typical city plan. Like I said, we didn't have the budget to hire a really expensive, consultant to do our engagement. We were already doing that with our city staff and with our volunteers. And quite frankly, like I said, I just showed you our numbers, and I feel like we were doing a pretty good job. Also, we were seeing something different as we were looking at our information. We were seeing something that, as we were starting to finish up our engagement and we were getting ready to celebrate, we were not going to do business as usual. We were not going to achieve our goals by accident. Because what happens sometimes is when we create a typical city plan, when you get ready to celebrate, what happens to those plans? Put them on a shelf. Those plans go on shelves. And you check the box. And then the next kind of fire pops up, and you go and you pass your budget, and you start to work on the things that happen in front of you. And you have things as city staff that you have to react to every day. You get phone calls about potholes. You get phone calls about water breaks. You get phone calls about trees. You get phone calls about what's going on every single day. And we have to fill the potholes, and we pave the roads, and we take care of the trees, and we take care of those fires, and we take care of those service calls. And those are reactions. Those things don't happen in plans. The plans are the visionary things. The plans are the parks that we plan. How do we get those splash pads? How do those parks get transformed? How do we get those pickleball courts? How do we get above and beyond those core services? Those happen in the plans that sometimes happen on the shelves. But Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 was not about going back to business as usual. It was about changing the way we think about, we use our plans. So we created something different. We started working towards a very intentional plan. After we celebrated, we created a different type of alignment. We thoughtfully created a new chapter that we called Imagine Kalamazoo at Work. We then used our plan to align our work with budgeting, and we began implementing our goals through intentional alignment. Each year, we go through a budgeting exercise that aligns our plan and resources. You can look at every single commission agenda and see our strategic vision goals aligned with items on that commission agenda. Imagine Kalamazoo isn't just a plan, it's our commitment to you, our community. It's how we implement our vision and every plan that is created. And we've been doing it now for 7 years. Yay! This is how we've been doing our work. How do you establish the success and keep it going? We have been able to sustain our transformation with 3 pillars: engagement, organization, and alignment. We don't want to slip back into ever doing work as business as usual. And so with engagement, organization, and alignment, we look at how we use our citizen boards, think about our staff roles, and how your role as the community fits into our work as Imagine Kalamazoo. We think about our organization, how we're using data, how we align our budgeting, and how we use our services. We think about the alignment of our policy, our plans, and our projects every single time. The organization must have budgeting that is participatory within our departments. Our department budget isn't done in a vacuum. We have peer reviews. It's tied to the impact of our community vision goals. Plans talk to each other. We align all of our plans to our strategic vision to be sure they relate. Projects are aligned with the budget because they impact our community vision goals. They all require continuous community engagement through Imagine Kalamazoo. We've established an internal web that has fidelity to community input. We have what we call our Imagine Kalamazoo fire, and we have that fire going. By the way, I think this is the first time I've ever built a Venn diagram out of wood. But it's a pretty good one, right? And by changing the status quo, it's forced our organization to look at ourselves very, very differently. When our planning department started to look at how we were going to build this master plan and the strategic vision, we looked at hundreds of other cities, their master plans and their strategic visions. We have yet to find another city organization that is doing work this way. I don't know why. Mostly because I don't think a lot of city staff are writing their own plans. A lot of consultants are still writing their plans. We are a staff and an organization that has chosen to write our own plan. And I think because we do that, and we do that together, we have created our own destiny and our own way of doing things. And so, therefore, it's just done in a different way. And that's why we've changed our status quo. So, in order, what's made this really special, and in order to be sure that this next part of the presentation, which is really exciting, and for us to get to that, by establishing this foundation in which we can really use as that 7-year launching point, and to keep this foundation, we can now work harder on those aspirational projects that we really want to get to. Because we've worked for the last 7 years to create that web and to create something that we can build from aspirationally. Over the last 7 years, we've been able to create a foundation which begins to build upon a place where things like an economic development strategy, community sustainability plan, housing development, federal infrastructure grants, a really changed zoning ordinance, and neighborhood plans have a stable ground. Because we've hired team members like the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety's Community Service Team, a DE&I director, a 311 staff manager, shared prosperity coordinator, neighborhood activator, housing development coordinator, neighborhood business specialist, and sustainability planner. None of these roles existed within the city 7 years ago. And we've added others to our team. We craft roles that have met our strategic vision goals. These are making the community stronger and giving everyone a seat around the fire. Joining in and participating in a very meaningful way in our community and achieving the goals that the community has asked us to achieve. What we've learned from Imagine Kalamazoo is that aligning our plans with our budget and engaging with the community and staff capacity gives us the greatest chance for implementing the most impactful projects and programs within our community. And every year we give this presentation to our commission. And this year will be no different. And every year at budget time, we say, here's how far we've gotten, here's how complete we are, here's how many goals we have ongoing, here's how many are in progress, and here's how many we haven't started. And this is where we are now. And we still have one more year to go. And we give this presentation to our commission, and we give this to them at their retreat. We show them where the goals are. We ask them what their priorities are for the next year. And when those goals have not started, we say, here's why. Here's why they haven't started. Here's what we're doing. Here's the grants we're going after. Here's the budget resources we'd like to allocate. Here's the staff capacity that we would need to in order to start those, or to stop those, or to what's ongoing. And so with 1 year left, I am now going to invite you to listen to our incredible team that our city manager introduced earlier to celebrate highlights from our strategic goals over those last 7 years. And our first goal is going to be presented by neighborhood activator Jay Slavey. And so I invite you to come and talk about complete neighborhoods.
Complete neighborhoods, what is that? So through this master plan process in 2016, 2017 for IK 2025, they had conversations that help us recognize that we could have all these high-level citywide strategies, but people want to know what's going to happen right on my street. What about that pothole right on my block, that tree, that stump that I have been waiting to see that removed for years? That house that caught on fire that still needs to get taken care of. And so with that, we looked at these sub-area plans, in which we call neighborhood plans, work with each of our 22 neighborhoods in the city of Kalamazoo, bringing residents, businesses, other institutions in that area together, and working hand in hand with them and their neighborhood association to create plans that guide the growth of that area over the next 5 to 10 years. And these plans range over topics of traffic calming, housing support, park amenities, communications, events, community building. And it allows us to take our 10 strategic vision goals that help us shape this larger vision of the city, that then are clarified through these high-level citywide master plan strategies into these very specific, tangible, measurable projects that we do at specific locations that are all requested and directed by you in the audience. Everyone that lives in a neighborhood, everyone that works in a neighborhood has the ability to share their voice and their vision on what they want to have their neighborhood look like. So with that, since 2022, we've had over 300 engagement activities in these neighborhoods, connect with all of you to understand what is it that you want to change about your neighborhood. Maybe there's concerns you want to address, but also what do you love about your neighborhood, and what do you want to see the city invest in to enhance the things that you choose to live in that neighborhood for, whether it's a school, a park, your drive to work. Those are all special things. Home is a special place for people, and we want to make sure that people feel like they belong, people feel like they can get to work, get to important places on time, easily, and all of these things are figured out through these conversations and then documented in these neighborhood plans. And so in the last 7-8 years, what have we been able to accomplish with this neighborhood planning model? Well, we've been able to get 9 neighborhood plans developed and put together. And that includes North Side, East Side, Edison, Vine, Oakwood, Winchell, Parkview Hills, Stewart, and the recently approved Westwood neighborhood plan. Westwood also is the first neighborhood plan that we had cross-jurisdictional support between the city part of the neighborhood as well as the township part. And so that helps us even go beyond city boundaries to strengthen those relationships with our township friends, to understand that that whole neighborhood includes many different people, and what are those shared goals and needs that we can help meet together. Other things that we looked at is within our neighborhoods, we have also historic districts. And the goal of those districts are to help preserve the character of those neighborhoods. But we also recognize through those IK 2025 conversations that sometimes it's challenging for residents to navigate those regulations, to be able to help repair things in their historic homes to help promote the value of historic preservation where they live. And so we are proud to say that we were able to host free public workshops throughout the last 8 years for residents to learn how to repair their wooden windows, how to repair their steps, how to just make their home and feel good living in there, and make it clear that it is easy to live in a historic district if you have access to the right support and resources to be able to preserve that character of your home in the neighborhood. We also thought about other stakeholders. We are also proud to have K College, Western Michigan University, and KVCC, where students come to the Kalamazoo area to go and get a higher education. And we wanted to make sure that students that come here want to stay here after they graduate because they feel embraced as stakeholders, not obstacles that other residents have to get around, but they are also part of the community. And so we launched in 2022 the initiative Unizoocity to connect and build relationships with all 3 colleges to be able to connect students to some amazing opportunities that are available in the community. One of those events, as an example, was the scavenger hunt that we do with Western first-year students during their fall welcome week. In 2022, we had over 850 students come right downtown in one day using Metro to be able to connect with those local businesses and learn all the amazing things that they can do downtown during their 4 years at school. We went from having 11 business partnerships in 2022 for that event, offering discounts and opportunities for people to learn about the opportunities there. We went from 11 in 2022 to 45 participating businesses this year. And we're going to continue to grow and make that a great experience for students each and every fall welcome week. The last but not least is through these neighborhood plans, just as our assistant city manager spoke to our master plan, we don't want these plans to sit on a shelf. So I am so happy to say that what is planned in these neighborhood plans are also implemented. And in the last 3 years, we've implemented over 60 projects, and that is from little libraries across the east side. We have trees planted across Edison and the Stewart neighborhood, bike racks at parks and different public spaces. And again, we've had community events that help people gather within their neighborhood and learn about amazing resources and services that are right within walking distance or close by. And these have helped us receive the engagement that we need to do larger scale projects like the level cycle track, like different housing investments. And so what I'm excited is the work that we do here with the neighborhood plans, where we are able to really define what is it that people want to see in their neighborhoods. We're actually able to point to those things in the ground that we've been able to install and build together with the community. So up next is Justin Gish, our sustainability planner.
Hello, my name is Justin Gish. I'm the sustainability planner here at the City of Kalamazoo. Been in this position since May 2023. We'll talk about why I said that date here in a minute. So in 2019, the City of Kalamazoo City Commission declared a climate emergency. From that proclamation, the city developed a community sustainability plan. It's housed in CPED, where I work currently, but received input from all city departments, public services, parks and recs, and everyone. So it really is, it's a community sustainability plan. It's drafted by the city. It kind of guides a lot of the city's decision-making, and I was hired on to oversee that plan. So one of the first things that we did here, I worked with other city departments to create a greenhouse gas report, right? So that plan calls for net zero by 2050. It's hard to get to that goal if you don't know where you're at. So we did two baselines, one for the city of Kalamazoo and one for the community. I can say that the city of Kalamazoo is about 50,000 metric tons of CO2e in 2022. And then the city as a whole is about 2 million metric tons. So those numbers don't scare me. They are what they are, and we'll work towards bringing those numbers down. The first step is a fairly recent one. You might have heard the city is committed to purchase renewable energy from consumers starting in 2028 for 20 years beyond that. And that's going to be essentially all of the electricity use the city uses, the city as a governmental entity, will be coming from solar and renewable energy, or will receive renewable energy certificates for that. It's kind of in the weeds there, but just know that we're working towards using renewable energy as the city. I'm working on affordable green housing. My supervisor, who kind of did this heavy lifting before I got hired on, Jamie McCarthy, was working with neighborhood groups to audit homes. So a lot of homes in the community, they're older. We got to figure out where they're at to help get them up to more energy efficient living. My partners in public services as well, Chris Broadbent, who I work pretty closely with, is working on tire recycling. So recycle, boy, 2 minutes goes by quick. Sorry, Christina. Recycled tires, we're picking up recycled tires, we're keeping them out of rivers, we're stopping them from becoming mosquito breeding grounds. We're adding parcels to the NFP. We're doing recycling audits, we're increasing recycling rates, Chris Broadbent's doing a great job there, and we're planting trees in the city right away and on city property. So I'm here to oversee that plan. I have great support at the city overseeing that plan, and I hope that you all, as citizens, will help us get to our goals. And I'll give that to Director Mitchell.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to hold my 2 minutes as well. I brought up a partner here, Jared Badu. He's our neighborhood business and special projects coordinator, and he has a big component on the second slide. So I gave him a couple more, other than just giving him one, to talk about, but it's a big item that we haven't done in 20 years at the city. It was the last time we did this activity, I was a youngster with less gray hair, working for the city back in the day. So one component that that's very important that we've been doing in economic development in our division, working with Jared and the economic development team that has been a part of this, is our facade and white box initiative. And we've pretty much over the years, $1.5 million has been invested in that area. The business support, which has been a lot of our loans and grant dollar program, is around $3.7 million invested in that going into the community. And then business outreach, we've really physically talked to, like you said, 1,200 businesses in the community. One initiative that we're trying to do going forward is to touch more businesses, in particular with retention and assistance, including a new initiative that just got started this year that we work with public services with, working with the construction area and those businesses to touch those even more going forward. And then last but not least, a new component that's new to Michigan is cannabis, recreation. And the best thing that's been about that is it's a new industry. As you can see, 380 jobs created out of the 28 businesses we work with. And that is really significant because 60% of those jobs are with city residents. 16% is with Shared Prosperity Kalamazoo residents. 30% of those employees are minorities from the community, and 38% is females as well. And so we're trying to get the word out. We're working with KVCC and the industry through our new Kalamazoo Social Equity Campus Chamber to work with the community and work with the businesses to better educate everyone, but also open up the opportunities for these well-paid jobs here in the community. So now I'm going to pass on to Jared real quick.
Thank you. So we've had over $200 million invested in private investment in downtown over the last 7-8 years, more in our neighborhoods as well. We have had a soft opening of Can Do Kalamazoo. They're moving into downtown Kalamazoo this month, actually. The city's invested some dollars there. It started out as Can Do Kitchen, incubator for food-related businesses, and now it's taking on more to help any business startups. And then really excited, just this morning, the Economic Development Corporation adopted the first economic development strategy in well over 20 years for the city. This is a huge deal. It's going to, it's giving us strategies, a roadmap of how to become more business friendly in the community, how do we provide economic opportunity, upward economic mobility for folks. So it really is encompassing all. It's not just trying to help wealthy developers, it's helping everyone in our neighborhoods, downtown, succeed and grow. So very happy about that, and that'll be going to City Commission in October, I believe the 7th. And I'll pass it over to Christina.
So you have to channel Dennis Randolph, who had to leave. Hopefully you guys got a chance to talk to him out there as our traffic engineer. So Connected City. A connected city is a city that is networked for walking, biking, riding, rolling, driving, however you move. We want to make sure that our city is prepared to help you move in and out and to your home and businesses, which dovetails with our Streets for All. So really thinking whenever we do a project, making sure that we're thinking through who's this street serving? What do we need to be thinking about? Who lives on that street? Is there a school on the street, a senior facility on the street, to make sure that our transportation serves those residents? And so in the last 7 to 8 years, the projects associated with Connected City have looked like this. Over 24 miles of either new sidewalk or repair sidewalk have gone in. And these have been prioritized in areas, although not exclusively, but the priority work has been within a quarter mile of a school, a park, or a business center, because in Imagine Kalamazoo 2025, that's what you told us were the priority areas for this work. There have been over 70, or about 70 bus stops improved, and this has been a collaboration with Metro Transit, with a variety of funding sources, including the Foundation for Excellence, as well as federal funds through the Community Development Block Grant. And these funding sources helped us improve these bus stops to be accessible and usable by more residents in the city. Over 88 miles, lane miles of streets have been repaired or paved, often with our local crews. This includes both local streets as well as major streets throughout the city. And there's over 20 miles of new bike lanes that have gone in, and a variety of different types of facilities that have gone in as we work with the different street types, and again, who those facilities are serving and where they're located. And I use this picture real quick before I turn it over to Director Baker and Chief Boyson for Safe Community. You know, when we upgrade a street and we think about who is being served and what's missing, you know, Stadium Drive before on top, Stadium Drive below on the bottom, huge gap in non-motorized connections on Stadium Drive existed prior to this work. And so Western Michigan University was lacking that connection, Kalamazoo College lacking that connection, as well as the adjacent neighborhoods. So putting in that mixed-use path, which we were able to expand this year, don't have a slide of it, but through some federal funds for Safe Streets for All, we're able to take this path, which ended at Howard, and take it all the way to Rambling, connecting Western's main campus with the BTR Park, as well as with the Winchell neighborhood. And this is what a connected city looks like.
All right, thank you, everybody. I'll go ahead and start off here. So this is actually a really exciting day for us in public services. Right here, live in front of everybody, I get to announce that yesterday, that number that says 5,000 was at 4,987 lead lines replaced. And then today, on Stewart Avenue, we replaced 13 additional lines. So this is a accurate number to the day. We're really excited for that. This has been something that we've been extremely focused on in public services, safe community, clean, safe drinking water for everybody in the city and the townships. On the heels of the Flint disaster, we got together internally with public services. We knew that things were going to change with state law. We were not going to wait for the state law to change. We put together a robust plan to not only identify the number of services that we had out there, but to create a funding plan and to create a strategy and timeline to execute and remove all 10,000 service lines that were in the city and the townships. We presented that plan to the City Commission in December of 2016, and in 2017, thanks to Imagine Kalamazoo and the Foundation for Excellence, city and out-city ratepayers, and so everybody that pays a water bill, I want to thank you for the part that you do to make this number possible. And we've been proactive with this ever since. We've been participating in state and federal loans. We've been bringing in federal infrastructure dollars to lead services as well. We will have all lead service lines replaced by 2037, and we're just going to continue to do this work as fast as possible to make sure that Kalamazoo citizens are protected from lead. And part of that, is passing out filters. We've got over 10,000 filters to families here in Kalamazoo. That work continues. We've partnered with CPED for a lot of work great work that CPED's doing to get lead out of the homes, and not just the water lines, but the lead paint as well. So 82 homes remediated of lead paint. That is a big number, and I'm going to ask just kind of a phone to your friend, how much is the average home to remediate from lead? About $32,000. So that's a lot of work going into our community. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Just a quick advertisement. On October 17th, we're going to be holding a lead community event at the Edison Neighborhood Association. So, we'll be celebrating our 5,000th completion and getting ready to kick off another 1,300 replacements in the Edison community. So our work continues, and we're dedicated to keep Kalamazoo safe through clean, safe drinking water. So with that, thank you, Chief Boyson.
All right, thank you, Director Baker. Good evening, everybody. Our number one job at Kalamazoo Public Safety, I know our name implies it, but our number one job is to keep the community safe. And one of our top mandates from the City Commission was to reduce gun violence. And gun violence over the last few years, especially since the pandemic, was really at unacceptable levels. So that was our number one priority, and we worked very hard to do that. And I'm happy to say that from last year, we were down 23% in assaults with firearms, and we're down 37% from where we were 2 years ago. Shots fired incidents are down 54% from where we were last year, and overall non-fatal shootings and homicides are down 53% from where we were last year. So, and I appreciate that, although one shooting is too many, but I'm just very happy that we are now seeing pre-pandemic numbers in our violence. And I think, and I'll give credit for two things, it's really the balanced approach between outreach and enforcement, and that is the key. We've tried just doing outreach, it doesn't work. We've tried just doing enforcement, it doesn't work. But when you balance outreach and enforcement, especially with our community partners that we use, a lot of folks in the community are now working with public safety. And I always say a few years ago, people would say, public safety, what are you doing to prevent gun violence? Now you hear, what can we do to partner with you to reduce gun violence? And we got a lot of partners out there working with us, and I think that's why we are seeing success. So we're going to continue that to keep driving those numbers down. Another thing was really that we saw since 2020 was an increase in juvenile-related violence, and we've worked very hard with direct interventions, direct contacts with the youth and their families, leveraging our community partners, and you see the numbers up there where we're down 10% violent crime for juveniles, 20% property, and overall crime is down 17% for youth. So again, we're engaging with our juveniles and working with their families, and that is also working out. We've got a lot of unique partnerships at Kalamazoo Public Safety that we use that are kind of unique across the country when it comes to dealing with at-risk youth and identifying who they are and how we can engage with them. Lastly, I'll touch on another issue that we are, I think, seeing as a community is our increase in houseless population. I know that is a big concern because it creates a perception that people, they don't feel safe. And so One of the things that we started 2 years ago was our community service team. That's a sergeant and an officer and a social worker. That's a non-sworn person working with our officers to engage with the houseless population, try to get them in services, get them things that they might need, or take enforcement action if necessary. We are now expanding that. I just posted that. We had interviews yesterday. I'm going to add 2 more officers to that, so we'll have additional 2 officers, so we'll have a 4-person team plus a social worker to increase that. We're also increasing our presence downtown with increased visibility, especially on the weekends, on Fridays and Saturday nights when people are attending bars and restaurants. Obviously, some of you heard we had a very unfortunate incident over this last weekend. I was glad that the team was able to quickly get that person in custody. But again, those things are what this team is going to address, because it is not just a public safety problem, it's a community problem that we're just part of that piece. So again, there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of positivity going on. Appreciate all of you being here to listen to these presentations tonight. So thank you. Next, Sharon.
Thank you. So speaking on shared prosperity, abundant opportunities for all people to prosper, the City of Kalamazoo has seen, partnered, or fostered opportunities for 1676 multifamily residential units. That is mostly rental units. They were either built or preserved in the city, and we've seen over $200 million invested over these last 7-8 years. Over 2,200 affordable home owner projects or developments happened. That includes down payments for those who were trying to purchase homes. These are preserved or provided within the city, $3 million invested. We've assisted through financing mostly, or bringing finances to the city, just shy of 4,000 for people who are experiencing houselessness. That's for prevention, tenant-based rental assistance, emergency service dollars, or rental assistance. $3.5 million invested. We've seen 48 infill houses built. Those are the traditional single-family units. And we also have online pre-permitted plans that are available for purchase for those who want to be a part of the solution on infill housing.
Okay, on the shared prosperity front, so this is not an exhaustive list, but just a couple highlights over the years. The first number represents a partnership that we had with the United Way and the VITA program, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. And all of these numbers represent work that's been done in our core neighborhoods, East Side, Edison, and North Side. So 3 neighborhoods, increasing access to free tax preparation. In the core neighborhoods, we had expanded sites, and that resulted in over $800,000 in tax refunds going back to core neighborhood families. The number under that represents almost 500 families engaged in terms of early childhood education and mental health care supports. And the last number is most recent number. We partnered with Southwest Child Care Resources in the Tri-Share program. These are 12 families from the core neighborhoods that will be assisted over 3 years, and 2/3 of their child care bill will be saved as being part of the Tri-Share program. So this number just represents, as of May 2024, that partnership ends in 2026. So again, over 2/3 of families' child care costs be covered as a result of this involvement with the Tri-Share program.
All right, so I get to talk about youth development with the City of Kalamazoo Parks and Recreation Department. A lot of our work that I'm gonna talk about tonight, we started pre-Imagine Kalamazoo, but what Imagine Kalamazoo was able to do for us, we can enhance our programs. So you'll see nearly 2,900 summer campers. Those are unique numbers, so each summer we gather, so if I go to a camp, I may be there all 45 days, but I count as one person. So those are each individual people throughout the summer. numbers varied throughout the pandemic, so we got a little lower. We had less sites, less capacity because of staffing and just restrictions. But, so these numbers aren't going to add up, so don't do it in your head. But we averaged right around 500 unique individuals at each campsite, at our camps throughout the summer. And some of those super rec sites, all the super rec sites, excuse me, are free for City of Kalamazoo residents. The 442 teen program participants, those are All Things Possible program, which is another free program housed out of the Western Michigan University Student Recreation Center. College and career readiness program, so they're exposed to a lot of different potential careers and make connections within this community, visit colleges outside of Kalamazoo, and just open their eyes on what is possible for them after college, or high school, I should say. And that's not just colleges. We talk about trades and other opportunities to go into the workforce. And the completion of All Things Possible program and 9th grade results in free driver's education. We do segment 1 and segment 2. To date, Mr. Baker, as I found out today, we have 73 kids that have taken advantage of that driver's education. So that is another one I found out today. Our CIT program are for 13 to 17-year-olds. Those kids come in and help our summer campers. They're counselors, just like I say, in training. We're building them up, mentoring them, preparing them for potentially jobs. They're going to become our summer camp counselors eventually. That's our hope anyways. PAL program, 2022, we started this program in partnership with Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety, and in that we have served 2,300 kids through our youth sports and sewing and a few other programs too, but those are the ones that are currently being offered. And then lastly, the creation of our Youth Action Council, KAYAK. Those are 13 youth in the community that lead a board. Their main purpose is to develop different programs and events that their peers and themselves want to take advantage of, so we can connect with those teenagers. Really hard group for us to connect with, so we put it on them. You guys tell us what you want. They are also advising our department on new events, new programs, and things like that. Speaking of the Youth Action Council, the talent show. If you guys have gone to Lunchtime Live, in the middle or late August, the last 3 years, I believe, we've done the Youth Talent Show. That's something that KAYAK has helped lead. Really great program. Creative workshops. That's throughout the entire summer. We have these workshops where they're doing poetry, art, singing. They can be doing dancing, things like that. We're working with partners in the community that are doing this work. They're helping these youth hone in on their skills, and hopefully our goal is to get them to take part in the talent show. Not a requirement, but just something we're working towards. And the bike rodeo, we've been doing that for the last few years as well, and actually I believe that's a KAYAK member right there in the vest. Another great event. We partner with other city departments, get kids out there learning the rules of the road, riding safety, safe riding, and providing helmets and other resources. All right.
Okay, as the City of Kalamazoo embarked on this Strength Through Diversity, in order for us to continue that momentum, I have been tasked the mission to make sure we keep that motivation. And in doing so, working with the HRC, which is the Human Rights Campaign, which they present a scorecard for each city. Those cities basically are identified to show how much inclusion and implementation they do for the LGBTQ community. In 2022, our score was 76 out of 100. In 2023, our score jumped 12 points. We are currently 86 out of 100. Hopefully in 2024, we will be able to present to you a larger number than that. That's our fingers crossed. It has not come out yet. And also, as far as the Strength Through Diversity for this Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department, we have presented several professional development trainings for our employees, as well as some of them include implicit bias, microaggressive training, best business case for DE&I, Moral Courage College, disability 1 and 2, LGBTQ 1 and 2, and we continue to build that curriculum as well. And also this year, we have created our advisory council. Our advisory council is comprised of our senior leadership. So if you run a department, you are a part of that advisory council. In lieu of the advisory council, we have created a DE&I council. That council is comprised of employees from each department. Our department will act as a catalyst. As the DEI council, they are tasked with looking at policies, procedures. Where are the barriers? Where do we need to remove those barriers? How can we uplift our employees throughout the organization? And lastly, we also work from an interconnected city approach to where those trainings that I mentioned to you are not solely just for our employees. We have extended offers to our external community because we are aware that some organizations, not that they may not want to do the work, they may not be able to do the work, so we also extend it to our external partners as well. And lastly, I would like to say that thanks you to, I also have worked with Rebecca as far as senior leadership is on a constant continuum of leadership training when it comes to our DEI initiatives. Thank you.
So I had to look at these slides just a little bit ago because I was nervous that there was no stats and there was something I forgot. So mine are all pictures. So just to highlight some of the major park improvements that we've done during this Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 process. Obviously, everyone knows about the Farmers Market Phase 1 that was redone and opened in 2022. We will be starting Phase 2, the multi-purpose building. We actually had a meeting about that today, and that will be starting here probably in the next few weeks. Along with that, we did a major renovation of the Millen Park Playground. If you remember the old playground that was there, that had not been improved in I think 25 years and was actually at its last legs to stand. So we actually, through a few grants that we had, were able to redo that playground completely. And part of the new portion of that playground, there's actually a quiet space that we developed with our landscape architect and through some of the community meetings for children that can go to that playground that might have some sensory issues, that there's an actual spot in that playground where they can actually have a quiet time to use some of the implements that are there at that playground. So that was something that was new that we implemented at Millen Park Playground that we're going to try and implement across the city. The Upjohn Park Fitness Court was a partnership with Community Planning and Economic Development, and through some CDBG grant dollars, we were able to put that fitness park at Upjohn Park, and that was one of the first ones in the area that had been developed in partnership also with Priority Health as one of the major sponsors. And then the Lacrone Park Splash Pad opened up in 2022, I believe, as well, and that has been a great addition to not only the park, but that whole entire area as another water feature that people can go and access for free throughout the summertime. And then, whoops. Oh. Yep. And so along with the park improvements, some of the major events that our department hosts and helps run throughout the city, one that's actually going to be coming up here in about a month is Halloween Forest that's held at Millen Park. That initially started as a smaller event, and it was at Bronson Park, started to grow, and we wanted to try and move it to a different area so it could kind of move throughout the city, and we settled on Millen Park, and it's actually been a huge event the last couple years. That'll be on the Saturday, I think, before Halloween at Millen Park, so that's one of the pictures of that event. We also, a few years ago, created an event called Flurry of Fun, which was kind of a niche that we hadn't done in a while as far as like a winter event with sledding. We had hot chocolates and games and everything, and as you all know, being local, we haven't had that much snow lately, so we haven't had that event the last 2 years, but knock on wood, hopefully we can have it again this year. And then the annual tree lighting that we take part in every year right after Thanksgiving. So, turn it over to Rebecca.
just wanted to be able to highlight a few things in the downtown. Downtown's kind of everybody's neighborhood. And we've had a lot of really great things that happened in the last 8 years. Bates Alley was something of a really unique project that happened. We closed down kind of a service alley and made it into an event space that we now host Beats on Bates every Wednesday during the summer. Exchange Alley, we've got decorative lighting. We've really lit that up. We've been using these alleys as walking spaces for a really long time. As Christina talked about connected city spaces, Kalamazoo is very unique using its alleys because the streets have been kind of loud and noisy, and so we use our alleys as this refuge space. And so we've really been using them as placemaking spaces too. So we put bistro tables on the mall. We've got 90 minutes free in our parking ramps. We've got ambassador services to help clean up spaces. We've got the Central Commons District, so you can take your drinks around from spaces. And again, we've got Workout Wednesdays and Beats on Bates, which have been new events that were introduced into the downtown. Jared had mentioned that $200 million of private investment. Why is that important? It's important because that has created incredible tax base for our core services. $17 million of public investment because of the private investment. We've been able to leverage grant dollars on top of that private investment. 42 social district licenses that have been able to be utilized in that social district commons I just mentioned. 60 new businesses, restaurants, and retail that have been opened over the last year. 480 new residential units in the downtown, taking advantage of all of those new things that are going in our downtown. We never thought anybody would be living in the downtown, but here we are all now living, working, and playing in the downtown in such incredible ways. And $350,000 of downtown dollars spent. Downtown dollars are an incredible way to support downtown businesses, and we use that program regularly, and we usually around the holidays also have an incredible matching program for our downtown dollars. So shameless plug for that, but wanted you to know that it's an incredible way to support those businesses as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Operating Officer, Laura Lamb, to talk about good governance.
All right, so you have just heard from our team about the incredible work that this organization and this community have done in response to Imagine Kalamazoo 2025. I think we deserve one more round of applause, and this time for the community. It's incredible. I don't know about you, but it's Thursday, and I really needed this inspiration. So thank you, all of you, for your presenting, but also thank you, community, for being there every step of the way. When we started Imagine Kalamazoo, we made a commitment to the community that our engagement was going to be meaningful. Engagement was going to build trust. It was going to build relationships. We committed to listening deeply and making sure that we heard you and we met your words with actions, with resources, with plans that we delivered on. This good governance strategic goal is really our way to continue that community commitment, that we understand if we're going to ask you what your vision is for the community, we have to make sure on the city organization side that we've got the infrastructure within our organization, we've got the resources, we have the support to make that vision a reality. Since the adoption of Imagine Kalamazoo 25, we launched 311. We launched a 311 where you have a single number that we can try to help efficiently and effectively meet the needs of our residents and our businesses. Now with 74,000 cases last year, we're going strong, but there's still some work to be done. It's still a work in progress. We're investing in our 311 team. We're investing in our 311 technology. We're really trying to look at how to better harness our data so we can figure out how to use this data to make decisions, to allocate resources, and identify gaps in our processes. We know there's some work to do here, but we're moving strong. Sorry about that. In terms of our national community survey, since we adopted Imagine Kalamazoo 25, we've had 3 surveys conducted. This is our way to both gauge our progress, but also help us narrow in and focus. Now, the survey we did in '23 showed some promise. We saw some improvements in resident perception related to the way we give out information to the public, to our parks and recreation, to our streets and festivals. We also saw some areas that we still need improvement, such as our economic health, our feeling of safety, although tonight we got some positive news on that front, and also building additional trust and confidence within the city organization. We know we've got more work to do in these areas. We really look forward to Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 helping us get there. In terms of elections, our city clerk, Scott Borling, and his team, they've done a phenomenal job of increasing access, adding a satellite office at Western Michigan, adding ballot boxes in convenient locations, working with our county clerk and the surrounding jurisdictions to make sure that there is access for early voting for state and federal elections. To ensure successful implementation of Imagine Kalamazoo, we have to remain engaged with our city workforce. We've started to do greater good governance coordination with cross-departmental teams, and this year we spent a lot of time engaging with our people, engaging with our teams, to ask them. We're out there asking the community what they want the future of our community to be. What do you need? What are the resources? What are the supports that you need to make sure we can do this together? So Foundation for Excellence is a 501c3 really designed to address systemic challenges to the prosperity of Kalamazoo. Each year, FFE provides funding that allows the city to reduce property tax, keep it low, to stabilize the budget, and most excitedly, to invest in aspirational projects that align with Imagine Kalamazoo. Here you can see over $160 million invested to date, and you can see the areas in which we've invested between property tax savings to owners, aspirational projects, and our stabilizing of our budget. You see a further breakdown here that shows how those aspirational project dollars have been broken down. At the top, you see infrastructure, you see affordable housing, you see economic development. When we were engaging on 25, these were the topics that came up again and again and again as needs for the community, as vision for the community. And here you can see the amount of investment that was attached to those priorities. So tonight, we're about to launch Imagine Kalamazoo 2035, an incredible journey that's going to shape the future of our community. The input we receive tonight on the boards, the input we receive throughout this journey is going to help dictate where do the next $50 million in aspirational project dollars go? What does the future of our community look like? Our commitment to you is to continue to listen deeply, to continue to make sure that when you tell us where your priorities are, what projects and programs you want to be a part of, that we're here to deliver together that commitment to you all. Thank you.
So I promise on the last speaker, we will wrap this up and get you out. I was going to start by asking, why do you think we spent, the bulk of our evening tonight talking about 2025? But I think that Laura just summed it up for you. We are building from where we are. Your voice is very important. Imagine Kalamazoo leads to our work plan as city staff. So if you want to shape the work of the city, we need you to participate in Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 and be at the table with us. So, Imagine Kalamazoo 2035. Where are we starting? When we did Imagine Kalamazoo 2025, we were starting from scratch. We were starting from an old master plan that had very little public participation associated with it, and kind of blew it out of the water with those 4,000 at least participants in that plan. Today, we're not going back to where we were. We're not starting from scratch. We are starting from here. We're starting from all the successes that we just heard about and building from there. We will spend time reviewing what's worked and what hasn't. We'll make changes and edits to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success for the next 10 years. Imagine Kalamazoo will yield a couple of documents, just like Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 did. Through this process, we'll be updating our strategic vision, as well as our master plan. Strategic vision is that high-level, 30,000-foot up, broad set of 10 goals, which hopefully you all visited the boards before we came in here and have a chance to look quickly before you depart, that shape our work plans and our budgets. The master plan, think of that as the next plan down. Primarily land use, transportation, parks, housing, many of those things that we heard from the community that are important. The master plan lays out our vision and our work for those, and that is why it's important for you all to be at the table with us. So when we think about the work that we're going to do for Imagine Kalamazoo 2035, I appreciate this is a little bit of a nerdy slide, but I think it's important for us to think about because we spend a lot of time aligning our plans. Our strategic vision informs the master plan, which informs the neighborhood plans, as Jay told us, which informs our budget, right? Everything is in alignment, and that's how we move through to be effective in our work to get the community vision accomplished. It's the same thing when you take just the activity that we're doing now, right? We need to make sure that we're aligning ourselves within this work. So we need to make sure that we are properly defining our goals. Starting from where the goals we have, what needs to change? What do we need to add? How do we look forward with those and get those defined correctly to move us forward? We need to think about then our outcomes. You know, what are those impacts of those goals? What are we trying to achieve with those statements? Then we need to think about the how. How do we make those achievements? What are those projects, programs, plans, policies that the city will initiate and operate with your assistance to make sure that we're achieving the goals and outcomes that you shaped for us? And then finally, we need to make sure that we are taking measurements, right? Where are we? Are we moving forward? Do things need to change? Do we need to make adjustments rather than blindly moving forward with things that aren't working for the community? We did some of this with Imagine Kalamazoo 2025, but we set it up after the plan. Lesson learned, setting it up now to make sure that we're being as effective as possible in our work. You'll see that we're going to be in Imagine Kalamazoo 2035. We're going to have three kind of main engagement phases. We call them Imagine It, Plan It, and Design It. Those are actually the same names that we use for Imagine Kalamazoo 2025. There'll be some similarities and some differences, and I'll hit a couple of those in a minute. The Imagine It phase, which is where we are right now, we're reviewing the strategic vision goals. We're reviewing the city's vision statement, and we're going to do that by popping up around the community at events. We're going to ask you to hold some conversations and events and report back to us. And we're doing a new activity this year as a community book read. Once we pass that stage, we will move to the Plan It, which says, okay, we've defined our goals. Now let's talk about the outcomes. What are we trying to impact with those goals? We'll have some large meetings held throughout the city. We'll continue to pop up at events. We'll probably do some online surveys as well as we start to narrow down what we've heard from the community, from goals to those outcomes, what we want to impact. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with what we call the Design It phase. This is also the neighborhood roadshow phase for those of you that participated in Imagine Kalamazoo 2025. This is where we take those broad goals and outcomes and think about it on the ground, at each block, in each neighborhood. Because the goals and the outcomes are going to look different in Millwood than they are on the north side, as they are in Edison, as they are in the south side. And so we need to make sure that we're thinking about how we're setting up those strategies, those programs, and those policies that result from Imagine Kalamazoo so they work within the neighborhoods as well as rolling back up to the broader community. And so if you lay that out on a timeline, I'm certain we will not stick to this timeline, but it's nice to have at the beginning, right? We may not stick to it because we're going to pause at the end of each phase to say, did we hear from all the people we need to hear from? And if the answer is no, then we're going to stay there and have some more conversations in that way. And we're working with our partners and our working group to make sure that that question is answered not just by us, but also by the community. Did we do enough? You'll see that the first two big documents that come out of this community conversation are the strategic vision and the master plan. The strategic vision, we hope to start writing next spring. So we want those goals to be well-defined. We want to work with you all to create those outcomes, and then we will write the strategic vision to express those. Then we'll follow up with our roadshow, our neighborhood roadshow, and get out into the community, get into the Design It phase, and that will give us the information that's going to be useful in our master plan, which is really that working document, thinking a lot about land use, transportation, and our neighborhoods, with the hope of the first quarter of '26, taking that document to the City Commission for approval. So again, we're in the Imagine It phase. We already said that. What does that mean? There are three big activities that we're going to be doing this fall with your assistance. First, our meetings on the go. The second is Imagine Kalamazoo Reads, and the third is going to be some work reviewing our strategic vision goals, which we've started here tonight, and we'll be doing through some surveys yet this fall. So let's talk about meetings on the go first. This is a repeat of an activity we did in 2025 because it was so successful. We had over 500 responses, people participating in meetings on the go. A meeting on the go is a toolkit that we can give you. We have them printed outside the doors here, that allows you to have conversations with your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighborhood, your sewing circle, your running club, whoever it is that you talk to, and to think about some questions about the city and looking at the city and how you, it's a kind of a one-stop shop, right? So we wrote an invitation for you if you want to send an invitation. There's a sign-in sheet. There's what questions you could ask, materials you may want to have on hand, like pens and paper, and then how to get that information back to us. It can be as easy as typing it all into a Google form as you have your conversation and sending it away, or it could be something that's handwritten or something you want to come in and turn into us. Whatever is easiest for you. We just want you all to have these conversations, because there's something about a conversation that doesn't necessarily involve city staff, that allows for a very free-flowing conversation, and allows it to reach people that we would never be able to reach if we were trying to host all of these meetings and all of these conversations within the community. Imagine Kalamazoo Reads is going to be our second big Imagine at Face activity. This is new. We have not done this before. We invite you to join us in reading the book called Happy City by Charles Montgomery. Or if you prefer, there is a 20-minute or 18-minute TED Talk. Whatever works for you. Same principles. Happy City asks us all, how do we think about what's around us? How do we think about our neighborhood? How do we think about the parks we visit? How we move through the city? Those unplanned interactions that we have with an old neighbor that moved away that we happen to see when we're downtown shopping. And how do all of those things shape our lives and impact our quality of life? And really start to think about those physical spaces, which we in the city, especially in the planning department, think about every day. How do we think about those spaces and how they impact our happiness, our quality of life, our view of our city and our world? We are going to we encourage book clubs to grab this book and read it on your own. This is a bookstore, is selling it at a discount. You can get it at the Kalamazoo Library. Extra copies have been ordered. You can also get it as an e-read from the Kalamazoo Public Library through Hoopla. We are going to be hosting several conversations ourselves as city staff on this. Again, we invite you to do that on your own. We have a toolkit too, just like Meeting on the Go, that gives you, discussion questions for your book group, and you can send them back, your answers back to us in a variety of ways. But we'll be hosting some events. First, we're going to be at This is a Bookstore at the end of this month, on the 30th, for an event to discuss Happy City and its impact on our lives in Kalamazoo. We're going to, in October, we're going to be at Jericho on Fulford Street in the Edison neighborhood. And then the Kalamazoo Public Library, we're working on setting a date for December in the Northside neighborhood, hopefully at the temporary location of the Elma Powell branch. All of this information is available on the website, and there's lots of QR codes outside where you can get that. Finally, digging more into our strategic vision. Again, we started tonight, to get the juices flowing, think about some of the projects and programs that have been associated with these goals. This survey is really going to, we need to start to think about, do we have these defined correctly for the next 10 years? What needs to change? What needs to be added? And this survey will be live next month. It'll be available online. We'll have it on paper. We'll have all sorts of ways for you to take it, and we'll have it at pop-up events as well. So, none of this works without you. Those 4,000 points of contact that we have for Imagine Kalamazoo 2025, they shaped that plan. They created that vision. I hope this time it's 8,000 or more voices that come to the table with us and have these conversations and help shape the Kalamazoo of the future. But again, without you, we can't get there. Without you, it's not your vision, it's not the community vision, it's city staff vision. So, here is your call to action. As you walk out the door, Please grab a copy of a meeting on the go. There are many printed copies out there. We also have it available on our website. Again, how to do a meeting, one-stop shop, everything you need. We even have a less than 10-minute meeting format if you don't want to or don't have 45 minutes or an hour to spend with folks. Read Happy City. It really is a good book. Watch the TED Talk and think about your space and how you move through your community. Discuss it with others. Get others to read it with you. Come to our events and give us your feedback. And finally, in order to stay informed, please make sure you are checking in, that you are signing in at all of our events. You can do that by writing it on our sign-in sheets. We also have QR codes, and you can check in and give the same information digitally. Either way, we just want to make sure that we know who's attending these meetings, because again, if we don't know who's attending, how can we judge if we've had the right conversations? That's why we ask you questions like, what neighborhood are you from? Or if you're not a city resident, can you tell us about where you live? That helps us understand where people are coming from, so we can figure out, do we have the right people at the table? So, in the back is Emerson Wesselhoff, a Kalamazoo College student. You can raise your hand a little higher so they can see you. Thank you. Kalamazoo College student who worked with us this summer and really is the lead in the Imagine Kalamazoo Reads effort. She will be at the table facing Lovell, facing south. And we have a few copies of the book. If anyone wants to grab a free copy, you will get the toolkit along with it, in the hopes that you take that free copy and have some book conversations with your friends and family and coworkers. And there are a bunch of, again, copies of Meeting on the Go up there as well. And Emerson can answer any questions that you have on that. So thank you for sticking with us this evening. We hope that to see you at future events. Thank you very much. On your way out, if you did not put all your stickies where you wanted to, please take a moment to do so. And we'll see you at the next event. Thank you.